Episode 5 of Gundam, The Witch from Mercury was definitely a fantastic episode. I'm assuming Wendy, I think her name's Wendy, just this random, oh, by the way, hi, senpai. And it's like, okay, there's two witches, and again, I'm assuming it's Wendy. If we go way back to the prologue episode, we had two individuals that were trying to flee. One was, I think her name was Nyla, and Nyla pushed back this girl named Wendy and pushed her away. And that Wendy has the same eyes as this lady that shows up and talks to Mom at the very end and calls her senpai. So I'm assuming Wendy from that point decided to dye her hair brown, let it grow out, got rid of all of the piercings that she had, and I guess interjected herself into this other institute. So makes sense if you think about it, this idea that this Peel Technologies co-opted somebody from there, brought her over to their institute, knowing that this gun format's still good. So we at least have like two injections of the gun format into this whole scheme of things, which I think is really interesting. I think this is really an interesting twist to this entire story, this idea that yes, technically, the Gundams were outed, they got pushed out, but there's still somebody within this entire organization that still wants to use that technology, still sees that there's a value to it. And it looks like the Peel Technologies is the ones that's doing that. They have somebody that is a witch, somebody that they've been enhancing to use this gun format. And again, they brought, who I think is Wendy, into their organization to work in the background to see if they can overcome the issues they're obviously having with the gun format, which is this wear on the people themselves. So really super interesting to kind of take that direction with Alan's story, and I'm really curious how that's going to turn out going forward. It does seem like he has a lot of misgivings for Suletta, hoping that she was like him, but because the way that it seems like it's putting it is because she's not cursed like he is, because she's not suffering like he is, he can't relate to her anymore. So he no longer likes her. So we'll see if that kind of shifts going forward, but really interesting twist, this whole thing. But yes, a lot of this focus on this episode is on Alan. He's dueling people for some reason. Everybody's like, wow, that's kind of surprising. We don't normally see Alan dueling people. But eventually that leads to him being pushed by, I'm going to call her Wendy in this episode. We'll find out if it's somebody else later on. Pushed by Wendy, who seems to have control over him to try to investigate Suletta, which we kind of knew was already happening. He kept kind of sneaking up and talking to her on a regular basis. Kind of had an assumption there that there was some sort of connection that Elan had to Suletta. Whether it was that he was drawn to her early on, and then they found out about this stuff, or that he's always been commanded to follow her around. But yeah, he takes out like 3 people in a duel. That cuts to us seeing the Peel Technologies meeting where they're studying, they're specifically talking about the performance of Elan, the idea that he is this enhanced person number 4, and that he's, doing okay. There's no issues or anything they're seeing in the whole fight. Additionally, that they're monitoring Suletta. They're noting that she's, there's no signs that there's any gun format being used, although they really believe this is a Gundam. So yes, they want enhanced number 4 to follow her around, which again is Elan. This cuts to the Earthian house, which they're currently repairing Ariel, and fun little moment with everybody together. Had this brief little moment. One of the girls was doing some sort of fortune telling with Suletta, and it seemed to indicate that she noted that their mother was there at the middle. So that's obviously indicating that her mother is like at the core of her, but also noting that she doesn't see her father, which of course we know has passed away. But additionally, there's one other one, which she was saying is a brother or something. Do you have a brother? I'm assuming that was probably Ariel. Like some sort of sibling is being marked, and that would obviously be Ariel. Kind of interesting that it's sort of indicating this idea that this fortune telling takes into account things that are what you would assume is AI, which Ariel would be. Or are we indicating at some point that there's an actual soul within Ariel? We'll see. But yes, Alan calls her, and this caused a big storm. We had pajama parties and everything. Everybody talking about the Ice Prince and how he never shows emotion. And she eventually calls her mom, talks about everything that's going on. Mom's really happy that she's progressing in her list. And that eventually indicates that she herself is aware that the Peel Technologies is making their move. I'd be curious at this point if she knew that Peel Technologies had Wendy within their institute, that she knew that there was some sort of similarity they were running into. I would assume that she's probably doing plenty of investigation to the other institutes and knows that they're probably developing some sort of enhanced beings and as well as a gun format or a Gundam. Cutting to the scene between Wendy and Elan is where we get an indication that she is obviously pushing to Elan to investigate Suletta. And again, right here, you're getting that indication that Elan likes the idea that there's somebody that's similar to her. That they're seeing that Suletta is an enhanced person, possibly an enhanced person, and seeing how that's affected his body. Like his entire body is formed for the purpose of piloting a Gundam. They're saying specifically here that he has been enhanced solely for the sake of riding one of these things. Some maybe gun technology is within him that allows him to suffer through what the gun format does, the data storms and stuff like that. Maybe his body has been formed so that he can get through that. It indicates later on when he actually does pilot Ariel that he was expecting that it was going to do something to him. Like, oh yeah, this feels familiar. Wait, it's not the same thing because I don't have that feeling as if something is prying into my mind. So at least indicates that he has experienced it before. He knows the feeling of the gun format. He knows what it does to the body. But yeah, to get more information, Wendy wants him to duel Suletta eventually, but before he does that, she wants him to actually do one more duel with this new mobile suit they're doing, and so wants him to basically go out and just challenge somebody to duel. It was also interesting to see because it kind of indicates that Elan has some sort of grievance. He mentioned the idea that, oh, so she's personally enhanced to pilot Gundams like me. I wonder if she also has a face that's borrowed from another as well. So I'm curious what that'll come up with. They did indicate this idea that he was a fake prince or whatever, so I'm wondering if it's some aspect that he's a clone of somebody else, and that's why he says that. That would be my guess. Suletta goes out for their date. Everybody's freaking out. Marion's mad. Everybody's surprised that the Ice Prince is going out with a date with somebody, and it's Suletta. And the ruse that he creates is that he needs her help to go out there and survey this dueling area before the next match, and he's saying that his current mobile suit's broken. And the entire time, Elan is observing Suletta as she's piloting the Ariel. And what's interesting here is because he's trying to pry at her to find out how she feels when she pilots. Well, how long have you been piloting this thing? Well, it's always been with me ever since I was young. Well, do you ever feel a struggle or suffering when you're actually piloting it? She said, no, if anything, I feel at ease. And this statement seemed to capture him. He gets like really close to her and she freaks out and she's like, oh, what's your birthday? And then he immediately says, let me pilot this. Can I pilot this thing alone? I know it's family. I won't harm it. And so she agrees to it. She thinks that it's because she asked for his birthday and that's what kind of made him mad. So she allows it. But no, this is when he activates the Ariel. It says permit score 2, which activates the gun format. And again, he does believe that it's the same thing. He's like, man, this is definitely gun format. But wait, no, it's not right because I don't feel like it's messing with me. I don't feel like it's in my head. So he says that means that the one that lifted the curse was, I'm guessing they're assuming, Suletta here. Suletta has lifted some sort of curse in it. Because that's the thing they're kind of wondering. Is it the Gundam itself that has the technology within it that is now removing the side effects of the gun format? Or is it specifically the pilot themselves? Which again, I think the curse that he's talking about here and they're talking about here is the effects of the gun format. And again, Elan thought that she was like him, suffering with this curse, but yet this thing is not causing any kind of problems. It's kind of indicating this idea that it's that they have this new technology with an Ariel, but that was something that was affecting her mother. Even when her mother was piloting Ariel, it was causing this effect. She wasn't able to go to this certain level. But it wasn't until Suletta got into it that she wasn't causing any problems. So I think it's like this combination, like it's a connection that the actual Ariel itself, this Gundam, does to the pilot. So if Elan were to go higher, he probably would have seen those side effects. Because again, her mother was seeing those side effects. So it is indicating this idea that Suletta removed the curse because she's so connected to Ariel. That Ariel, I guess, has become a part of her. And that anything else that gets in there, if they push it too hard, they're going to see the side effects. So yeah, this upsets him. He goes back, says that she's nothing like him, doesn't like him anymore. And then Ghoul shows up, sees that Ariel's teary-eyed because now this person that she thought was her friend is now mad at her. And so he challenges him to a duel. They go out, have their duel. I like how at some point Suetta's like, don't do that for me, because Ghoul says, if I win, you can't see her anymore. She's like, don't do this for me. She's like, but he's part of the 3 pillars or whatever. He's your enemy. And he's like, yeah, but you are too. He's like, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, from Elan's side, he says, if I win, I want a duel from Suletta, which obviously is going to set things up going forward. It's always funny because it's kind of one of those bad side effects is that the duels are so game-changing that you know who's going to win. Like if somebody says, you're going to leave the school, obviously that person's going to lose. So yes, when he says, I want you to stay away from Suletta, that can't happen. Okay, well, I want to duel Suletta. Okay, that's going to happen. So you know who's going to win. But yes, this leads to the duel itself, which they do see that Ghoul has another suit. Everybody's upset because obviously him doing this is going to make his father mad. But also, this is technically a fight between 2 different sons of CEOs of this big corporation. So this is sort of a big deal. Shoot, even Sadiq was like, no, we allowed it. I really want to see this. But no, it's very one-sided fight. Ghoul does pretty darn good, though. But obviously, Elan's got this new suit that he's trying out. It's got these funnel-looking things that aren't necessarily drones, and indicating to Suetta's mother that, yes, this is in fact somebody that is using a gun format. And that's when this Wendy, I'm thinking it is, comes in and says, yes, it's a gun format. what's up, senpai? It's like, okay, shuck. There was another witch all along, and it is Elan. The fight itself was really cool, though, because it had a lot of strategy to it. This idea that he's using a stun ray. At the same time, there's a lot of static being built up on the playing field. That static's getting on the moon dust itself, and that stuff is basically weighing down Ghoul to the point where he just pretty much gets locked down in place, and then Elan's able to just kind of mess him up. I like how Elan wins, and the first thing he does is immediately pick up his phone. All right, Suletta, time for our duel. I don't know if that means like opening up the next episode, immediately they go to the next duel. I would assume they're probably gonna have a break there, but overall, like I said, really fantastic episode. Just a cool new shift in everything. I would say that it's a creation of another faction, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think Wendy is working for Suetta's mother. Like, she is kind of a mole within the Peel Technologies, but again, I think the Peel Technologies perfectly pulled her in to use her. So it's like that case where Suletta and her mother kind of fled, and then you had Wendy probably got captured by the Peel Technologies, was forced to, basically merge that technology over to their stuff. And now that, Suletta and Suetta's mother is now here, Wendy's able to come back out again and say, hey, this is what I've been working on over here. Is she going to be, again, another faction? Is she going to want to help Suletta and her mother? That's the big question mark. But it could create another faction. But I do believe they're probably going to be... I want to say that Wendy, I don't see Wendy liking them. Because again, it kind of indicated in the prologue that Wendy liked this Nyla. And Nyla, sacrificed herself to save her. And she was shot by the soldiers that she's now, technically, that were part of the company that she's now working for. I don't see her liking Peel Technologies. I don't see her liking the Bennett Group. So I can see her doing this because they forced her, but she has the keys. She has the control over Elan. Elan says that everything she says, he'll listen to her commands. So it kind of indicates this idea that Wendy has full control over Elan. And if she has full control over Elan, this enhanced person, she has control over this technology, all that kind of stuff. We'll just see if Elan is always going to be mad at Suletta, or if he's just going to realize that, yes, we are in fact kind of the same thing here. But no, overall, fantastic episode, great reveals, great action. The fight scene itself was fantastic. I love seeing kind of a more personal side of this Earthen group. They had this cute little pajama party talking about love and the Ice Prince and all this kind of stuff. They even have this other girl that's a part of the group that she's just like... I kind of got an indication from the OP with her, as she feel like she got the chunkier one. She seems like she's like super into romance and stuff like that. So she's going to be the one that's always there getting excited about stupid stuff. So it was great. Overall, the episode was just a great mix of a whole bunch of stuff, and I loved it to death. So probably one of my favorite episodes of the series so far. So looking forward to the next episode, seeing where this goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below. Comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.